Welcome back to Grimverse History, where we uncover the strange and forgotten sides of history. Tonight, we step aboard a British slave ship to witness what African women endured during the Middle Passage. Every night, when the deck finally fell quiet, British sailors were granted access without resistance. Not to the men chained below the deck, but to the women kept deliberately above. This was never chaos or drunken accident. It was recorded, permitted, and quietly expected. Ship logs called it customary liberties at sea. The women called it surviving until sunrise. You stand on a wooden deck as salt stings skin. Below your feet, men are chained in silence. Above you, the women are kept here deliberately. If stories like this matter to you, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It helps Grimverse History keep these truths alive. And wherever you're watching from tonight, this ship is about to leave shore. Now, dim the lights and let the world fall quiet. Listen to wood creaking beneath distant, restless waves. Hear the soft movements of men believing nothing stops them. It is 1696. The ship is called the Henrietta Marie. The anchor has just been raised, and the most dangerous part of the voyage is about to begin. Amara is 23, and the iron is still warm. The mark presses into skin that remembers gentler pressure. You can almost smell burning flesh mixed with sea air. It is not loud. It is efficient. The letters are small, but permanent. Rack does not describe her. It claims her. Property travels better when clearly labeled. A few days ago, Amara walked confidently through Dahomey. She knew where she belonged and why. She was a wife who argued, and sometimes won. She was a mother who counted breaths at night. She was pregnant again, and thinking about names. History rarely pauses for naming rituals. Now her wrists are bound with rope. Each movement tightens it slightly more. You notice how pain teaches stillness quickly. The children are already gone. Taken earlier, sent elsewhere, unrecorded for now. You are standing nearby, watching this happen. You understand enough to feel helpless properly. The beach is unfamiliar, but busy. Men speak languages learned for profit. Others translate, because suffering moves faster when explained. A ship waits offshore, patient, floating, prepared. Amara is examined without curiosity, only calculation. Eyes move like hands counting livestock. Strong enough, healthy enough, likely to survive. The pregnancy is noted, then dismissed. Future value rarely interferes with present use. Someone decides she will cross the ocean. Someone always decides. This is how history becomes personal. Not with dates, but with shortened futures. Not with statistics, but with small, irreversible moments. You feel the shift happen quietly. One day, she had choices. Now she has instructions. The transformation takes less than a week. Wife becomes captive. Mother becomes cargo. A human life becomes a line item awaiting transport. The system does not rush. There is no need. You might expect screaming here. Instead, there is silence and procedural calm. Violence works best when it appears ordinary. The shore recedes before she boards the boat. So does her previous name, slowly. What remains is memory and breathing. That will have to be enough for now. The ship moves, and law quietly disappears with land. You feel it before anyone explains it aloud. On this deck, authority floats with the tide. The captain decides what order means today. The crew follows rules written nowhere official. You notice how silence replaces outside oversight. No courts reach this far offshore. No witnesses arrive uninvited at sea. What happens here belongs to the ship. That is the first rule, rarely questioned. Below your feet, the air grows thick. Men are kept under the deck, tightly arranged. Iron limits movement, and darkness limits hope. Breathing becomes an effort measured carefully. Survival there depends on endurance, not visibility. You hear chains before you see them. The sound travels upward through wooden planks. It is steady, rhythmic, almost instructional. This is where unwanted strength is stored. Out of sight is considered efficient. Efficiency matters more than comfort here. Above deck, the space feels different. Wind moves freely, carrying salt and commands. Women are kept where light still exists. The explanation sounds reasonable at first. Fresh air keeps them alive for sail. You almost believe that explanation briefly. They are allowed to stand, sometimes walk. They are seen, evaluated, counted regularly. Survival improves when bodies remain accessible. That is the calculation written between lines. Access improves outcomes, depending on whose outcomes matter. You stand nearby, noticing where attention settles. Eyes drift upward more than downward. Movement attracts notice more than stillness. The deck becomes a stage, without curtains. Some positions feel safer, though nothing truly is. The system appears organized, not chaotic. The captain knows exactly what he allows. The crew understands boundaries shaped by convenience. Rules shift slightly with weather and temperament. Discipline exists, but selectively applied. Structure hides behind the appearance of routine. This world runs on quiet permissions. You feel the ship breathe at night. Wood creaks, ropes strain, lanterns sway gently. Men below remain where they were placed. Women above remain where access is easier. No announcement marks this division each evening. It simply continues as designed. You begin to understand something essential here. This is not disorder caused by distance. This is order perfected by isolation. The ship does not lose morality at sea. It edits morality for efficiency. That is how floating worlds operate. The ocean reflects nothing back. As dawn approaches, routines reset politely. Chains remain below. Air returns above. Everyone pretends night followed rules. The ship keeps moving toward profit. And everyone learns what survival requires quietly. Sometimes humanity survives by remembering others matter.
Night arrives without ceremony on the open sea. You feel the temperature drop slightly around lantern light. Wood cools, ropes relax, and voices soften deliberately. This is when history usually lowers its voice, not because nothing happens, but because words cooperate. You hear pages turning somewhere near the captain's desk. Ink moves carefully across paper, choosing friendly phrases. Deaths are counted honestly enough for insurance purposes. Illness receives numbers, ratios, and neat margins. Economics always appreciates clear handwriting. What happens to women receives better vocabulary. You stand near the rail listening to euphemisms. Breathe. Customary liberties sounds polite, almost professional. It suggests travels well across centuries and classrooms. It asks very little emotional engagement from readers. Language learns efficiency faster than conscience ever does. You notice how logs never describe faces. They never mention names spoken at night. They avoid describing how silence sometimes follows footsteps. The sea receives details the page politely declines. Paper remains clean when words are chosen carefully. History prefers clean margins and dry hands. Access is described as order, not violation. Assignment sounds administrative rather than deeply personal. Officers retain certain women for private arrangements. Hierarchy reproduces itself efficiently even in darkness. Power organizes itself whenever given enough space. You realize nothing here happens accidentally. Certain doors open nightly, others remain respectfully closed. Rules exist, though no one announces them aloud. Men learn quickly where permission quietly lives. Women learn quickly what nightfall usually brings. Routine becomes invisible through repetition. You hear laughter sometimes thin and misplaced. You also hear nothing, which feels heavier. Silence stretches longer than any recorded statistic. Morning later pretends nothing unusual occurred. Daylight specializes in collective amnesia. The ship prefers productivity over memory. You understand now why records feel incomplete. They were never meant to hold everything. Some truths were intentionally left offshore with witnesses. Others were wrapped carefully in polite language. Still, something refuses to disappear entirely. Survivors carry what language tries to forget. They remember patterns, tombing, and unspoken permissions. They remember which words meant danger approaching. Memory resists editing better than paper does. You feel that resistance breathing beside you. Not is where humanity quietly survives, not in official records or economic summaries, but in remembering each other accurately, in refusing the comfort of softened language, in holding truth gently even at night. Survival begins before the body understands danger. Amara watches evenings change temperature and tempo. You notice it too. If you pay attention, lantern light sharpens faces and loosens rules. After sunset, risk develops predictable habits. Patterns repeat because people repeat themselves. She learns which footsteps hurry and which linger. Some men arrive early, still mostly sober. Others wait until rum smooths, remaining restraint. Timing becomes information, and information becomes protection. Knowledge weighs less than chains, but matters more. You see Amara shift where she sits. Edges feel marginally safer than centers. Near ropes, near equipment, near inconvenience. Visibility decreases where movement becomes awkward. Safety lives inside small space of decisions. Illness becomes a temporary disguise. Sometimes weakness, when performed carefully, delays attention. Stillness, when chosen deliberately, invites less notice. You learn when looking invisible matters most. Not every strategy succeeds every night. Success only needs to happen occasionally. Nika speaks quietly, but people listen. Some men escalate when resisted. Others linger. Names become unnecessary. Patterns become enough. Wisdom arrives without ceremony or comfort. She teaches how to clean wounds discreetly. Salt water replaces supplies never provided. Hands learn to help without being noticed. Pain lessens slightly when shared competently. Care becomes an underground skill here. Most importantly, Neka teaches distance. Not physical distance, which remains impossible. Mental distance, carefully practiced and protected. She calls it going somewhere else. Others call it staying intact. The mind quietly builds emergency exits. You watch Amara practice this skill. Her eyes soften while attention drifts inward. Memory becomes sheltered in any locked door. The body stays present, but something remains untouched. This separation keeps people alive. Water is shared carefully, always measured. Food passes hands without spoken. Gratitude, language, differences slow. Nothing essential. Touch replaces words when words fail. Support moves faster than fear expects. Everyone contributes whatever still functions. Care circulates like warmth during cold nights. Connection becomes the most reliable resource. This is not hope exactly. It is endurance organized collectively. It is strategy disguised as kindness. It is survival refusing to stay individual. Sometimes surviving together changes everything. Survival does not announce itself loudly at first. It arrives as observation, quiet, and extremely practical. Amara watches evenings change their texture after sunset. You notice the shift too if you stay alert. Lantern light grows steadier, and movements become intentional. Danger prefers schedules, and schedule repeat reliably. She learns which footsteps pass quickly, which hesitate nearby. Some men arrive early, still counting their thoughts carefully. Others arrive later. When restraint feels optional, time becomes a signal rather than a clock. Memory begins storing patterns instead of fear. Patterns feel lighter than panic, and more useful. You see Amara reposition herself without explanation. Edges offer fewer glances than central spaces. Near ropes, near crates, near inconvenience. Visibility matters less where access becomes awkward. Safety sometimes hides behind minor discomforts. The body learns this map without instruction. Weakness becomes performance when timing demands it. Stillness communicates disinterest better than resistance. Illness, real or implied, buys temporary distance. You learn when disappearing works better than standing. None of this guarantees peace, only delay. Delay is often enough to survive. Neka speaks softly, which makes people lean closer. Experience settles inside her voice like weight. She sorts danger without naming it openly. Some men escalate when challenged, others linger longer. Knowing the difference saves unnecessary suffering. Wisdom rarely raises its voice here. She teaches care without tools or ceremony. Saltwater, substitutes for supplies never provided. Hands learn to work quickly, quietly together. Pain lessens slightly when shared competently. Care becomes skill, not sentiment. You feel kindness functioning with precision. Neka also teaches leaving without moving. Not the body, which remains watched constantly. The mind, which still owns exit routes. She calls it going somewhere else. Others call it staying intact. You watch Amara practice this carefully. Her eyes soften while attention turns inward. Memory becomes shelter during difficult minutes. Thought travels farther than locked doors allow. The body remains present, but something stays untouched. This separation prevents complete collapse. The mind proves remotely bequamitrid. Food is divided with practiced fairness. Language differences slow. Nothing essential. Tut replaces words when words feel unsafe. Support circulates faster than fear expects. Isolation weakens. Connection quietly strengthens. You notice humanity reassemble itself in fragments. No one announces leadership. This is not hope exactly. It is endurance practiced collectively. It is strategy disguised as gentleness. It is survival refusing to remain solitary. You understand resilience looks ordinary when repeated. People survive better when someone remembers them.
The sea grows quieter as the story loosens. Night releases its grip, and breathing feels ordinary again. The ship drifts away from your thoughts. You remember lantern light trembling across wet wood. Salt lingers in the air, cool and persistent. Ropes creak softly, answering waves you cannot see. Now the pages close without a sound. Time settles, and the room finds you. Your shoulders lower, as if invited. Some stories end by staying with us. They ask for gentler listening, not louder judgment. They survive through care, memory, and quiet naming. Let that warmth rest where the night keeps it. Let the mind breathe, unhurried, unafraid. If this journey mattered, you can leave a trace. A like, a share, a soft subscription helps. It keeps the lantern lit for future nights. Thank you for sitting beside Grimverse History tonight. We close the door slowly, without locking it. Sleep comes easier when truth is held gently. Carry the quiet with you, just a little. Goodbye, and we will meet again.